And this must be Good Morning, Good Shepherd. Welcome, everybody. We're glad that you've joined us or are joining us this morning. We'll give just a few minutes for everybody to kind of get on board there. I guess one of the things that occurred to me is we're buffering, aren't we? You know, you hate it when you're trying to look at a video or something and it just keeps going around and around. Isn't that called buffering? And we are buffering right now, aren't we? For 8 weeks now, 10 weeks now, the whole country, the whole world is buffering. We are just waiting for, real life, new life, life as we knew it, or normalcy to appear on our screens. So, good luck with that.
That's my line.
Hope we have better luck with that than we have with technology. But if it's any indicator, we are going to be buffering for a while. And that's, of course, presents its own challenges. So, this morning, I've often thought I should show up here with a garlic necklace around my neck and rabbit's feet all around the edge of the table and a big cross and here's what you take. We've got about a dozen more of these down here. Molly and Nina have sent us about a dozen more of these rogation crosses, but just before you go to the grocery store, you might want to pull it out of your garden and hold it in front of you and ward off the virus. We're not on?
It's got a sharp point.
Oh, where are we on? Are we going?
Yeah.
All right.
A little bit of technical problems today.
Are we having technical problems?
Just a little. I don't know why.
Okay. So are we on there, Harry?
You're on.
You're on here now. It
But
was off for a minute.
it's this.
Oh, it stopped for
going
just
to
a minute.
sleep.
The
You don't have
buffering.
know.
There we go.
I don't know
Back
if that's
to
because
the
there's some memory
buffering.
card or what. I'll be right back.
Okay, so we're good.
We think so.
Okay. We think so. Should we stop?
No, the camera went to sleep on you, so it was interrupted. We're gonna go.
Oh, okay.
We got a thing. We got a plan.
Well, isn't that just apropos?
Putting
right?
people to sleep already.
Camera, when I talk, people sleep. This is the opposite of E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. When Robert talks, people sleep. Cameras sleep. It's one thing people sleep, but how insulting must it be when a machine sleeps when you talk? Well, anyway, back to that. Pull your rogation cross off. Take it with you to the grocery store. Ward off the virus, and if it should come near you, got a nice sharp pointed end here, and you just drive that into the heart of the virus with a little alcohol on the end of it, and by golly, it will be dead, okay? I guess the virus is somewhat like vampires, isn't it?
Very much so.
The whole mythology of vampires is, laying hold of you, sucking the life out of you, whatever. All right. We're glad you're here. Hope the technical problems are working themselves out. Today is Memorial Day, and so I'm going to ask Joe if he will just offer a Memorial Day kind of prayer. We'll talk a little bit about what Memorial Day means. We've got lots to cover today, and so we'll try to be succinct here on this end and allow for your responses to come in. But Joe, if you'd start us, please.
The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Oh, gracious and loving God, you give us so many wonderful gifts. You give us the gift of this life that we have, our very breath, and all that we possess. And it comes from you. We're especially grateful for this wonderful thing called freedom that we have been given through you and through those that have laid down their lives for so many wars over many, many centuries. They are with you now. They have fought the good fight, and they have won the prize. Let us always be mindful of their sacrifice so that we now, this day, and all the days ahead of us, enjoy this freedom. It is precious, and may we guard it and may we practice it with your guidance and your glory. All this we ask in the name of the precious one who has risen, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Well, today, of course, is not Memorial Day. That will be Monday. But this is the Memorial Day weekend, and traditionally kind of the bookend of the school year and the church program year and the beginning of summer and summer vacations and all those kinds of things. Festive, happy times, but it's actually a very solemn occasion. And I think probably what anybody who takes any time to think about it in between burgers and dogs and chips, probably their mind is drawn to either Arlington National Cemetery or to the American Cemetery there over Omaha Beach at Colville-sur-Mer, the American Cemetery there. And both of those places, particularly probably at Omaha and Normandy, all the tombstones there are crosses or Stars of David, you know. And they're all laid out there in beautiful military fashion. But it's really literally, you can see before you. I've never been there. The price, the cost of freedom, you know. And I can't imagine how any American could go to any overseas cemetery and just not be moved and not be proud. And I mean, and especially there in the Second World War, the whole idea of just, 16 million Americans coming from every corner of this country, a mostly rural country, crossing the ocean, the flower of American youth, so to speak, called up and answering the call and going forward once again to liberate Europe, from the insanity, especially in this case, the insanity of Nazism. So it's I'd like to hear from people though who's been to Normandy. What are their memories of that? I've heard some stories of folks. So there's a custom there at Normandy that at the end of the day, the national ensign comes down, and any veterans who happen to be present in the cemetery at that moment are invited to fold the flag. And you've done that, haven't
Yes.
you? And what was that like, Joe?
That moment, well, when you first go through the gates into the cemetery, you go through a museum first, and it's brutally illustrated in old movies, kind of like Saving Private Ryan storming that beach, where you see that was a movie. You see all of the movies that were made and all of the sacrifice and the death and the carnage of all that. Then you come out of there and you see what you just described as these crosses and Stars of David in laser precision, and you almost fall down when you see them, because you've seen what they were when they young men storming that beach, and now they're forever 18 and 9. I think the average age is 18 and a half.
Yeah.
And we were there with Bob and Penny Brown and Jim and Leslie Parker. And when we walked through, nobody said anything. We just started walking by ourselves, all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, folding the flag, and Sissy and Leslie were doing recordings of that, and do the taps and all that. And I'm getting emotional right now thinking about it. When you fold that flag, she got a picture. It looks like it's raining. Well, it is.
Yeah.
You cannot help but cry when you realize exactly what this means, which you don't really know what it means, because I've never stormed the beach or anything like that. But they willingly gave their lives so that we might have freedom. So it kind of, every time Memorial Day comes around, we may do some burgers and fries and all that kind of stuff, but I have these moments there where we think back when we were at Normandy and exactly what happened there. That's just one little tiny
Just
spot.
one place. Yes.
One little tiny spot. So, well, it is. If you haven't been, I know you got to fly over there now, so that's going to be difficult to do. Two places Christians ought to go. One is Holy Land, and the other one is Normandy, Omaha, that sort of thing.
I do encourage you, if you're ever overseas, to there are a number of American cemeteries.
That's just one.
You should go visit them. One, you should go as a tribute to those who lost their lives, you know. I mean, you kind of owe it to them to go pay homage to them, you know. And my favorite story about Normandy was in another family having that experience, and you know, you can join in some folks who actually weren't veterans, but they were with their children and grandchildren. One of the grandchildren was invited to help fold the flag, and the response was, I am not worthy. I'm not worthy. I have not made that kind of sacrifice for my country. And I just find that to be that's a good response, a humbling response. Okay, we have a response here.
Yes, several. Jack Spees says he's been there,
Yeah,
and he said you just stand there in silence.
yeah.
Anita and Jim both want to tell everybody the Good Shepherd Choir has been to the National Cemetery at Cambridge, England. It was, and she says it was quite beautiful and impressive. And Jim says that when the Cogs Choir sang at the National Cathedral a few years ago, Kathleen Barnhart got to place the wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier on Saturday.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, you can do wreath layings, and Arlington is equally a moving place. The highlight of my Naval Reserve career was being the senior Navy chaplain at Arlington for about 3 weeks. I did 4 services a day, and that was, walking ahead of the caisson and the full military honors. It was just too much. Too much in many ways.
Well,
All right.
all of this is about remembering. It's just like what we
Yes.
do in our Eucharistic celebration is remembering.
Remembering. And
we cannot ever forget. And hopefully in that remembering we can maybe prevent this happening.
Right.
We give
probably
thanks.
Not,
Yeah, we remember.
we remember,
give
but remember
thanks.
with the greatest of gratitude. Oh yeah, yeah.
Remembering serves a couple of things, doesn't it? I mean, it tells us who we are.
Yeah.
You know, it connects us to the story that's gone on before us, that shapes us and inspires us. And certainly there's an element of learning from that and trying to prevent other concerns. You know, the experience you have when you, and you know, I wish Good Shepherd did that. I wish in it that the awe, I just want to touch a moment on the awe, because, you know, when you hear about Isaiah in the temple, you know, and that's that kind of awe. That's an awe coming into the presence of God. You know, Isaiah in the temple, perhaps in any large cathedrals evoke that sense of awe, encounter with God, and so, you know, we're a little dull to the other opportunities, like just a sunrise or a sunset, or little birds in a nest, or all number of things could elicit the response of awe in the beauty of God's creation, or even awe in something that lifts up, something that's transcendent, like the idea of love. That greater love hath no man than this, you know, and to encounter something that is true or noble or beautiful or gracious, you know, when something around can evoke encounter with that, then those things which are transcendent become real and apprehendable, you know. All right, so like sitting here, you know, and looking, I think it's an Acusa dogwood here that is heavy laden with blooms, and listening to the birds sing, and it's a new morning, and it's all right. Well, we have our flag here. Normally we put a little mourning ribbon on it for Memorial Day. Memorial Day is different from Veterans Day. Memorial Day is about remembering all those who have lost their lives in the service of our country. And since 9/11, we've certainly broadened that understanding to there are other people who are just as brave and just as much on the front line, like firemen, firefighters, law enforcement. I mean, a number of people working here at home, not far off lands, but here at home, to keep us safe and protect our lives, and they lose their lives, and their families suffer on account of that all the time. And again, out of this situation, we've seen that our life depends on a lot of people in basic ways, like the young person checking out your groceries there, you know, so you can go home and eat and things like that. Okay.
Robert, have we forgotten the poppies?
Oh, well, that's a Veterans Day thing.
I know it is.
You know?
Yeah.
But in England, Veterans Day, Armistice Day is more Remembrance
Yeah.
Day there,
Yeah.
and that's where that comes from.
Yeah, but, when,
Flanders Field.
Yeah, Flanders Field, that poem by John Craft, Colonel John Craft, was done toward the end of the First World War, but over the dead, because the graves were covered with poppies. And that's when he wrote that. So,
And then our stained glass depicts so many
oh, yes.
fallen.
A lot of the windows in our church are memorialized young men of this community who lost their lives in the Civil War, some of them friends, and then we have now memorials to Carter Hagler, who lost his life in Korea, and William Ahouse, too, who lost his life in Vietnam. Yes.
Linda Ware, sorry, can't see, says they visited several of the cemeteries, including 2 German ones. It's experience she'll never forget.
Yeah.
And Walter Sprouse says he did not fold the flag at a military funeral, but accepted the folded flag from the honor guard and presented it to the family of an Army friend sergeant.
Well, these folks we understand have given their lives for their country, and their country is an ideal. That's one of the great things about America. America is an ideal. It's not a race or a religious creed or anything like that. And the idea, of course, is a profoundly religious and theological idea, and that is human beings are free. We're made in God's image, and maybe the best thing you can say about that is that means we are free. We have an autonomy. As God is free to do as God pleases or God chooses, human beings made in His image are also free to choose. And that's what the story of the fall is all about the misuse and abuse of that freedom. And then what comes from that? What are the consequences of misusing and abusing our freedom when freedom becomes a source of woe to us and to others rather than blessing, okay? And so even in this time, I think we're right now having a little conversation about that. So, freedom, the 4 freedoms, of course, that at least President Roosevelt set forth early in the war, and they did movies on why we fight, what are we doing here, what are we doing here? And, it was freedom of speech, freedom of religion, of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear was the way Roosevelt articulated what is the essence. And Norman Rockwell, of course, did the famous set of paintings, to capture those 4 freedoms, and they're quite moving and well done in themselves. So, freedom. We have folks, like I say, we'll talk about mask again. It's time to put on our mask. So one collision is, hey, I woke up today in a free country. Ain't nobody going to tell me what I need to do. I can do whatever I want to do. And so there you go, right? Which looks a little ugly. No freedom is an absolute freedom. And part of the role of the courts oftentimes is in adjudicating the tension or the collision between conflicting freedom. So it is true. You did wake up in America today, and you are free, and nobody is the boss of you, and you can do whatever you please, and nobody can really make you put this on, okay, if you don't choose to. And maybe that's what's got some people's, what do you call it? They got their dander up, is, any American has a right suspicion of authority to begin with. It's, don't tell me I can't cross that line. And so you have to find other ways to do that. Why? Well, this is about protecting other people. This is about showing your respect for the people who have to be in that store all day long, you know. This is about showing your respect for other folks, that in this time when we don't have this virus nailed down, that you don't want to be the cause of somebody else's illness or suffering, you know. So really this is, so I do find it, it's disappointing to me. I mean, we started out this thing with we're all in this together, right? And I don't think we are all in this together anymore. And, you know, for me, this is the sacrament of we are all in this together, you know? This is what you do, that you conceive, it's tangible, that says, hey, you know, it's an inconvenience, I don't like it, but we're all in this together. And so here's my sign of that. So I don't know where folks go with that. I haven't seen any wrestling matches at the grocery store about it, but there have been some. But there is a kind of ugliness that can come out about that. And so now we're going to be left with, I wonder if this, I'm thinking this morning, is this the new Star of David? You know, we're back to the Bible. Lepers. I mean, Andy, tell us about lepers in Jesus' time.
In the Hebrew concept, if you had an illness, it was largely due to the fact that you had offended God. That was the simple explanation. And God could wait 3 generations to get your family. Well, leprosy was considered a curse. It's a God curse. Therefore, you must be sinful. You're also deadly. You could transmit this. So the leper was placed under very strict rules. The sign they searched for was white spots on the chest. And if the rabbis or the priests found white spots, you were put excommunicatio. You were put outside the community. And you could only be with other lepers. If I'm walking along the road and I see leper Lynn there coming towards me and she doesn't get out of the way, I can pick up a rock and hit her. Move out of my way. Don't come near me.
And she should be saying, unclean,
Unclean,
and
ringing
ringing
the
her
bell.
little leper's bell, right?
So
You got that?
the only
Got
way
it.
out of that, sorry, Beth, the only way out of that, if the spots disappear, and there were, because there are a lot of skin diseases in the Middle East that mimic leprosy. So if those spots went away, you could be declared clean by the priest or rabbi. Only then, and it had to be 2 or 3, not 1. Then you could re-enter society. But I suspect you were always under suspicion.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to sit by you at the dinner party,
Right.
okay? So you're kind of tagged for life.
So this virus has some like if you're infected in your hospital, I mean, your family can't see you, they can't be there for you. You're now consigned to the community of those who are hospitalized and infected with COVID, you know. And well, anyway. Now, this is to protect others, not to protect you. But we'll be talking about, you know, vulnerable population, and that's what I'm wondering, you know, if you're 60 and older, if you have pre-existing conditions, you know you're a little more vulnerable than anybody else, and so you got to go out, and so you put on your mask, you know, and imagining, I suppose, that there's some protection afforded, but you're kind of signaling, well, I'm an old fuddy-dud, and you all don't need me anymore, or whatever, you know, and we'll come out and get on with it. Well,
I think there's still confusion about the effectiveness of masks. You know, if Joe doesn't have a mask and he's speaking to me, he happens to be infected. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. You don't know that,
Shedding viruses.
right. You don't know that you have the
I don't know.
virus. But anyway, and so I have a mask, and it's been proven that those particles are so small that they can go through. But what you said, I think last week, helped me more than anything, is that if both people, if everyone has a mask on, then you are very well protected. Not 100%, but I think you gave a 90%.
Well, it depends on the type of mask and how close you are. There are multiple variables
Right.
here. But if you're both doing that, you are improving your risk your chances for getting infected if someone's shedding viruses. All of this is to mitigate and
Right.
slow down and improve our chances of getting this. And the whole object of improving your chances for getting it is let medical science and so forth catch up.
Yeah.
Because we're so far behind on this thing, I don't know how it may take us years to catch up. And catching up means treatment and vaccine. Or let the virus sort of mutate down to something less virile.
But when everybody has masks,
Yep, that's
That's
definitely-
helping.
That's the maximum, yeah. And-
Maximum, yeah.
Yeah, and you
and-
notice I moved the honey buns out from in front of me
Yeah.
because I don't want to be spraying them
Yeah,
with
you kept taking
moisture
your mask off.
droplets, you know.
These are going, oh, hello, Emily.
Yeah,
Hi.
let's get somebody else into this
Yeah,
conversation.
okay. Bernard Mason says John Wesley reminded us to do no harm.
Do no harm.
Freedom does not give us license for us to do so.
That's right.
So that's a great, yeah.
That's
Do
true.
no
I mean,
harm.
and one of the things we're taught as early children, you have a right, but your rights end where somebody else's
Right.
begin, you know? But sometimes it's hard to sort that out, isn't it? You know?
Robert, I
Okay.
mentioned that in a little piece I did for the paper yesterday about hand washing as a focus. And we'll talk more about freedom here, but what's the golden rule?
Yeah.
Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. So
What's so hard about that?
it sounds pretty straightforward to me. It's something that we completely ignored. So, but and that part right there is exquisitely important. And that's what we're called to do, is to take care of each other.
Joe, I think one of the most remarkable, and we've been talking about Europe a lot,
Yeah.
cemeteries in Europe. But if you ever go to Hawaii, you got to go to Crater Cemetery, you got to go to the Arizona Memorial.
Oh, yeah.
And you stand and look at where basically an entire ship's company was entombed. My father fought in World War II. He was on the DD-731 USS Maddox. His plane was hit by a kamikaze right off the shores of what was Formosa then. He escaped, obviously, to be my father. But his sharing with me what it was like to gather up pieces of the ship, bury them in the sea, and will never leave my memory. And one of my most treasured possessions on my shelf is a jar of Iwo Jima sand. Black as midnight and slick. You can't dig a hole in it. I think of all the Marines who suffered horribly on Iwo Jima. What was to be a 2 or 3 day battle ended up being weeks and weeks. I don't know if people know this, but that battle helped convince Truman down the road that we had to use the atomic bomb. We could not take those casualties. So that remembering of that struggle where so many gave their lives for a comrade next to them, fell on a grenade. We're doing that many times, and when we put on the mask, we're falling on the grenade. Is really what we're doing.
So I think if we were honest, we'd say what we as a nation are embarked upon. And I honestly don't think we have any other choice, but that is pursuing, I think, what you all call the concept of herd immunity. We're just going to have to get out there, and everybody is going to get exposed to this in time. And at some point in time, we're going to get to 60 or 70% of people who are exposed. And the facts are, and there will be people who do get sick, and there will be people who die. And that's what we've committed to. Again, like I say, because I don't think we have a whole lot of choice, because you can't stay shut down forever, you know? So that was the strategy to try to get on it, and I don't know if we did or not, but we certainly ran out of time on it or ran out of patience on it. And now, this weekend, we are all pretty much opened up in all 50 states.
Well,
And
we've seen our numbers go down. Isn't that correct?
no, it's not.
But
In New York,
well, the positive cases, look to me if I do this right, Wednesday through Friday in Georgia, 650.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean?
Yeah.
That people
Yeah.
tested positive. The deaths at Richmond County, all this is patchwork across America.
Right.
In our little patch here, there haven't been any deaths, if I'm remembering this correctly, in Richmond County. in several days.
Yeah.
And hospitalizations, what that means is they're in hospital. I don't know how many is. So we tend to, with those numbers, which particularly the death number, to me is important. So they tend to be, they seem to be like that at the moment.
Yeah.
But we've been mitigating for a long time. So when we now relax those mitigation events, it'll be a month before we know the effect. Robert, let me put in a plug about freedom from Eric Metaxas.
Yes.
Eric Metaxas has written a book called If You Can Keep It. And in that, he talks about the freedom concepts of our founding fathers. There's one thing that absolutely comes with responsibility. Freedom is not free to drive down I-20 in the wrong way at 120 miles an hour. There's
Or not
responsibility.
turn on your headlights at night, or not fasten your
Yeah,
seatbelt.
all of those things. Like Emily,
What you got?
Did I interrupt you?
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt
Yes,
you.
you did, but you're supposed to.
Ashley Pritchett says a good book to read right now is Molokai by Alan Bremerton. It's about the leper colony in Hawaii that started in the late 1800s. I probably said that wrong,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Well, we're wherever we are, and I guess the only question about the herd immunity is, well, if 60 or 70 will having the virus convey any immunity, and if so, how long? It clearly can be
don't know
detected
that.
by the presence of antibodies, but we don't know yet. So we could very well be with a virus through which contracting it provides no immunity, and people get it again, and it just keeps going until such time as we've got either better treatments or we've got a vaccination.
Like
whatever.
influenza.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on because we have a lot to get over today. But that's a good segue into 3 ways. So we're going forth with our lives. So know your risk. Know your risk. We say. All right. Because there are risks. Don't be so foolish as to imagine there are no risks for you or for somebody. Know your risk. So one way to think about that is in 3 words that we'll use right here at the church. First one's called proximity. And I needed to bring that, proximity is how close are you to another person. The virus is carried by human beings and passed on to other human beings. And being close is the first line of defense there. So if you are close to somebody, you're violating one of the risk factors, so proximity. The next one is activity. What are you doing? What are you doing? And if you're coughing on somebody or sneezing on somebody or something like that, that's a risky activity. If you're talking to somebody in an enclosed space for more than 5 minutes or so, there's a risk there of that. And then the last one, that's the time. So proximity, activity, time. Ask yourself, how close am I to somebody? What are we doing? And how long are we going to be doing it? Okay? Which leads us to, well, when will we resume in-person worship here at Church of the Good Shepherd? So, the President has declared houses of worship is essential, and he certainly wants to encourage houses of worship, or governors at least, not to restrain houses of worship from opening up and resuming their life. And so when is that going to happen here? So here's what we know today. Here in Georgia, in the whole state of Georgia, Roman Catholics will return to in-person worship next Sunday, the day of Pentecost.
tomorrow.
Huh?
Tomorrow.
That's next Sunday.
Daily Mass starts tomorrow.
Daily Mass starts tomorrow.
The
Okay.
first Sunday.
First Sunday, though, is the day of Pentecost.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. The Lutherans, ELCA, they are contemplating a start there on, I think, June 17th, I think is the date. Haven't made that decision yet, but thinking about it. The United Methodist in this conference will resume worship on June 22nd. And then the 2 Episcopal bishops, or bishop-elect and bishop, are working together for a consistent approach throughout Georgia for Episcopalians And so what we know right now is that will not happen before July 1st. So July 1st is the goal for Episcopalians to be able to return to their houses of worship. And for everybody, of course, that's going to be worship under very different circumstances than before. Probably mass, no singing, spacing, maybe limited numbers of people, whatever. So our bishop, it'll be Bishop Lode then, will let us know by the middle of June, I think, whether or not he and Bishop Wright of Atlanta believe we can make that July 1st, because they want us to be ready, and so probably they feel like they've got to pull the trigger on that 2 weeks out from the actual date. So that's the latest on what we know right now, not before July 1st. Hopefully on July 1st we'll begin and resume, and then again under some pretty tight restrictions. So we don't know exactly what those are yet, but they will be coming, okay?
Robert,
We probably have
isn't
some
the main
questions about that, but let them come. Yes,
Isn't the
Andy?
main issue communion for us? How do we do communion?
Well, communion, I think, for a lot, I think communion is an issue. How do you administer communion primarily in any kind of safe way? I suspect in-person worship in a lot of places will just be morning prayer. It won't be communion. It will certainly be communion in one kind. And then, as we've already talked about, and some have reacted a little, unfavorably to the notion, you bring your own cracker from home, for the consecration, because the issue for us is how do we safely deliver a consecrated piece of bread to your hand so that you can consume it at Holy Communion, okay? So we're still working on that. Perhaps the bishops will come up with some guidelines that we should follow. But in that spirit, next Sunday is the day of Pentecost. And so we'll be celebrating that here. Good day. Put on your bulldog shirts, not the red ones, not the black ones. Put on the red UGA shirts next Sunday. Sit at home. We will have Holy Communion here, but it will be, again, spiritual reception of the Eucharist. And we will have a guest preacher. And our guest preacher next Sunday at 10 o'clock will be the Right Reverend 11th Bishop of Georgia, Frank Lode. So Frank will be coming to us via video, and that'll be his first day on the job. He'll be consecrated the 11th Bishop in Savannah, in Christ Church, I think, next Saturday. This Saturday the 30th, okay? So you'll be able to watch that, and you should do that. And there'll be 10 people there, okay? There's a little trick, because to consecrate a bishop, you've got to have at least 3 other bishops there to lay hands on that poor soul who's taking on the burden of episcopae, in the Roman, in any church. I mean, to be the episcopae, God bless them all. That is a tough road to hoe. But anyway, it takes 3, so there's 3 bishops, the ordinand or himself, and then a couple of others, okay? Bishop Ben Hayes will be the chief consecrator for France. How nice. It's a blessing. I think it's a blessing in this time. We've had such good leadership from Bishop Ben Hayes. Frank has been right in there with him the whole way. I think the diocese is largely pleased with the direction of the diocese, and Frank will just be, because a new bishop, a lot of them will say, well, I was in the job 3 years before I even figured out what I had a hold of, So Frank, God bless him, he ought to know what he's got a hold of now, and everybody knows him and respects him, and so I think that's going to be a gift for our diocese, especially in a time of transition, not only in the pandemic, but just things are changing out there, as we talk about all the time here. We're not in Kansas anymore. Church is in a very different world than any of us know, and really it does need new ways of of being church, that we're all groping, trying to find our way. Yes, we have a comment.
Well, from Jenny Bradshaw, she says plug VBS.
Plug VBS. Well, let's talk a little bit about what we've got going on. First of all, I just want to commend Roger Spear and Jenny Bradshaw, okay,
I do.
for the work they have done over a long period of time, trying to stay connected with our kids. So we had the Easter egg hunt, which I thought was when all the parish fathers stepped up to go deliver eggs to our children so that on Easter morning they could still participate. And I think that's just a lovely gesture of affection, of love, you know? Those adults and young people who went to hide eggs, you know, put on their gloves, I don't know if they had masks or not, delivered eggs, and you've been egged and all that. That was wonderful. And then we've done this. I mean, Molly and Nina and Jenny and Lynn Williams has helped with this. I mean, just to celebrate Rogation, you know, to deliver this to Children's Home and put them in mind of the glory of God's creation and how much it's our responsibility to take care of. What else have we done? This next Sunday, got a gift. This coming Sunday, the day of Pentecost. I mean, Lynn Williams and Jenny have been working on this like lots. But the children will receive little Pentecost gift bags, okay? And so they'll have fireballs in there, right? Oh, is it a surprise?
It may be.
Maybe. It was somebody else's idea. Well, anyway, let me just stop there and leave the rest of it. You know, what will you get? Now, Roger is delivering. This is our graduating seniors packet. And they have an amazing Two Moms lamb cookie in here. And as has been the custom, they all receive St. Augustine's prayer book. It's a nice prayer book to take with them. There's a little tribute to all of the seniors and a letter too. But all that been prepared. And the graduating seniors, God bless them. They do not get to have, you know, the kind of graduate. That's a cute little lamb. I'm gonna pull that sucker out and eat it right now.
How long that was going.
They will not have the graduation ceremonies, you know, that they've worked for 4 years, this moment of change and
I really feel for
transition,
them with
and
that,
you know,
yeah.
that's a lot. They hadn't had their senior proms, and so they've had to give up some things that are a part of your senior year in high school, you know, so God bless them, and we want them all to go forth. We want them, this is all about them knowing that they're being sent. They're not just graduating. They're being sent to be witnesses, like the day of Pentecost, sent to be witnesses. And so get you a church out there when you get off to college and stay with it. But we really want them to take Jesus with them as their companion, a constant companion, a true friend. And we want them, we're trying hard to give them a sticky faith. Okay, we're not there yet. So many kids, when they go off to college, that's the end of their faith life. And a lot of them will tell us, it's because I love the pizza, I love Kumbaya. You didn't give me anything. You didn't give me anything to hang on. And I got out there and heard the first college professor talk about Gilgamesh or other flood stories, and my faith just went out the window. You know? So we're trying to get to a different place with our kids. All right, yes.
You've got 1 minute.
I have 1 minute.
And you need to talk about the Jesus Way, coffee and buns.
Okay. Oh,
Sorry.
it's 9:44.
Yeah.
Well, we have a little bit more time because we really don't have to set up.
But you have the other live stream.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Well, let's go to the Jesus Way. All right. That starts on June 7th. Okay, so we'll be here last Good Morning Good Shepherds next Sunday. That'll be followed, though. Meet us here, same time. Maybe not the same place, but same time, somewhere here for conversation about the Jesus Way, which is a discipleship study. We hope this will be just as important to the life of this church and the spiritual nurture of folks as the B2B, the Back to the Bible year was, where we all read the Bible together. That's a whole year. This will probably last 8 weeks. But what came out of B2B was we still have B2B groups that are still meeting. And the best way to grow in your faith is to be in a small group where you can build trust and get to know somebody well and share your journey of faith. So hopefully we can take this moment about being separated and make it the moment out of which Good Shepherd grows or goes deeper or becomes an even stronger congregation for God's work in the world.
And can I say,
Please.
Bunny and I will offer on June 10th, that's a Wednesday, our first Jesus Way, and I believe we'll do that by Zoom. But if you're interested in joining a women's Bible study with Bunny and I, Wednesdays starting June 10th at 7 p.m. to 8:15. We'll probably do that by Zoom. We're working that out with Emily right now. But please go ahead and order your materials. Everything's on the Good Shepherd website for your information. And email myself, Lynn Prather, or Bunny Williams, and let us know if you want to be a part of that.
Okay, when you get your book, get the Peter Walker book.
Yes.
First thing that'll come up is Eugene Peterson's excellent book by the same title, okay? And we hope Andy will think about reconvening
testing
his
the
group via Zoom, and maybe Rob Wynn and Doug Cates will also consider forming a group for the young adults. And we'll just go through the summer with Sunday school. That'll be new. That'll be different.
And we're doing that here live on Sunday.
Right here,
Right.
Sunday, June
In addition.
7th at 9 o'clock for about 30 minutes. And then we'll adjourn for what we're calling coffee and buns. Okay, well, everybody knows you have honey buns and coffee, and we just happen to have a priest here whose nickname is Bunny, and so there's a little obvious thing. So Bunny will host that, but that's coffee hour, virtual coffee hour. Y'all want to see each other? Here's a safe way until we get back here where you can have a little FaceTime with some of your friends down here at church. So that'll be at 9:30, 9:35-ish, and then worship again from the church at 10 o'clock. So that'll be our new lineup beginning June the 7th, okay? Vacation Bible School. I'll tell you what, Roger again and Jenny, they are working on some amazing stuff. We'll be partnering with Reed, so there will be VBS, online VBS, and I think it'll be a good experience for our kids. What else do we need to say? I wish we had the names. Who got our children are also getting, some of them, a bunch of them actually, are getting gifts for their participation in Sunday school.
Oh.
Okay? And I don't know if we had to grade on the curve since we quit Sunday school 8 weeks ago, or if you had to be online to get credit. But we have a number, and so when you get to your order of service today, you can see their names. I believe their names are all printed in the order of service. I wish I had
They were
it.
in the shepherd's fold too.
They're in the shepherd's fold so that I could read that. But well done to those folks. And some of them are, repeat champions, okay? They were here last year and were recognized for their participation in Christian formation and once again this year. So we hope you will be a three-peat champion here at the Church of the Good Shepherd. Okay, the Lynch Gate has become the hub of life now, so there's a dozen or so rogation crosses here. The Living Church magazine, some of those, it's a weekly in the Episcopal Church. The Shepherd's Voice is there. Is there anything else we need to say?
Easter lessons and carols.
Thank you. Easter.
Quickly,
Today's
in less
the
than
last
3
Sunday
minutes.
of Easter. Quickly. Lynn or Joe? Soundbite. Why is Easter so important to you? What difference has it made in your life?
Oh.
The good news of Easter for
Easter
you is
defines us as the body of Christ, the risen Lord, draws us together into God as one.
how about it, Andy?
Well, for me, it takes what the earth would say is a certain future death, and it changes that equation. We are people of life and light.
Hope and promise.
Hope and promise.
Really important. Particularly hope.
Jesus is risen. All right, the signal is
quit.
quit. Join us online at 10 for Easter lessons and carols. I think you're going to like it. 9 Good Shepherd families will be reading the lessons, interrupted by dogs, cats, children, and grandchildren. You're going to love seeing your friends, and see you at 10. Thank you. God bless. And hallelujah, Christ is risen.
The Lord is risen indeed. Hallelujah.